Hey everybody! Welcome to the very first episode of the Spirit Magic Let's Talk About Crystals and Gemstones channel, playlist, whatever it's going to be. I thought I'd kick things off today by talking about one of the more popular and sought after stones, which is tourmaline. Tourmaline is great because it's a protective stone. It helps to diffuse negative energy, some have said, but any sort of erratic energy. It's like a grounding stone. Think of grounding an electrical current into the earth. There's like a diffuse pathway for that electricity. Tourmaline kind of functions in a similar way for etheric energy. It attracts and absorbs. I'm not sure if I'm quite the proponent of negative and positive energy, but in this case, let's use the term negative to make it more easy to understand. But any sort of energy which might interact with your own biomagnetic field, your sort of etheric field, your aura, in a way which would cause disruption. Let's say a disruption from the sort of harmonic balance of your etheric workings, so to speak. Tourmaline is great for that because tourmaline attracts and absorbs that sort of erratic energy, negative energy, and it is as such used as a sort of protective and grounding stone. A lot of people really love tourmaline. I'm going to read a little bit out of the Crystal Bible here for you guys. Tourmaline actually is really neat because this is a solid black opaque tourmaline, but it comes in a variety of colors. It comes in greens and browns, and it can come in sort of transparent colors as well. It can be really pretty. There's a special variety of tourmaline called a watermelon tourmaline, which is it actually looks like a watermelon. It's kind of greens and whites and pinks and almost up to reds. And if you slice it in half, it actually looks like a cut of watermelon. It's really beautiful. They're kind of a rare tourmaline, and they're kind of expensive usually and difficult to find. But if you ever find some watermelon tourmaline, it's quite the gemstone prize. Tourmaline comes from Brazil, Africa, the U.S. It can be found in some places, some states in the U.S., Western Australia, Afghanistan, and Italy. Its attributes include cleansing and purifying, as we talked about a little bit, and transformation of dense energy into a lighter vibration. So by absorbing sort of erratic energy, it sort of purifies the etheric aura of energy. Like everything has, of course, its own etheric energy, etheric aura. Everything is the matter-energy equation of some frequency of vibration. And so when that frequency, have you ever heard, for example, when that frequency starts to get out of alignment? Like, have you ever had an electrical socket where you've had something plugged into it for a while and it's fine, but you give this electrical socket enough time of being plugged in, and for whatever reason the balance of energy isn't quite right. There's a little extra voltage. There's the discharge isn't quite working properly. The grounding of that particular electrical outlet maybe isn't wired quite right, or whatever the reason is. Eventually you'll notice kind of a high-pitched whine. Like, have you ever noticed that? Have you ever experienced that, where an electric socket that starts out okay, but after being used for a while starts to develop a high-pitched whine? Now, if you have like a brand new condo or building or something like that with really good wiring, you may have never encountered this, but if you have a bit of an older house or a little bit older wiring, you may have noticed that sort of phenomena before. Now that is a how shall I say? It's a disruption of the frequency within that electrical current. I guess it's when the frequency sort of starts to interact with other frequency and doesn't necessarily, let's say, harmonize for the sake of like understanding the etheric field. It doesn't necessarily harmonize oh well, it just doesn't necessarily. Let's just say it doesn't necessarily harmonize, because that's actually a better description. And so, yeah, what the tourmaline then does is it takes that disharmonious energy and it attracts it and diffuses it, and it sort of dissipates it, so that the natural frequency, the let's say the emanating frequency, the non okay, so imagine waves on an ocean, right? So if you have waves going in one direction, it's smooth, right? The waves will continue to flow in one direction without any interruption. But then if you get a wind blowing in a different direction, the waves will start to come from a number of different directions, and when they collide, when these waves collide, they start to do all sorts of erratic things, like they'll hit each other, there'll be spray, they'll like kind of break up in different ways, and that's what happens when you get certain frequencies interacting with each other in a way which isn't necessarily all going in the same direction, right? Like that's a nice harmonious, let's say, vibrational frequency, when everything's kind of on the same wavelength, literally on the same wavelength. It's a nice and easy flow. So negative energy, quote unquote negative energy, could be looked at as vibrational frequency which starts to disrupt the ebb and flow, or the flow of the waves on the ocean, and it starts to collide with a different frequency of energy. Now some frequencies are higher and lower, and they won't actually collide with each other, they'll kind of miss each other. They might sort of get a bit of the a minor disruption, but they won't necessarily collide with each other. But when frequencies are getting closer and closer, and exactly the same sometimes, but coming from different directions, they will create a sort of a shattered wine glass from like a high-pitched note effect, right? It's because there's oscillating frequencies that are starting to interact with each other, and they can be kind of a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and they'll start to interact with each other. But that, of course, that money spot is when they really start to interact with each other, and they create all sorts of disruption. So anyway, so tourmaline, it grounds spiritual energy, clears and balances all the chakras, and forms a protective shield around the body. Tourmaline is a shamanic stone which brings protection during rituals. It can be used for scrying and was traditionally used to point the culprit or cause in times of trouble, and indicate a good direction in which to move. Natural tourmaline wands are useful healing tools, and we actually have a really nice tourmaline wand on the shop website, which is actually part tourmaline. The tips are tourmaline, but the center is 7 slices of all the other stones according to the 7 chakras. So it's a really great healing tool. That's under the wands collection on the Spirit Magic website, Spirit Magic shop. So if you guys want to check that out, it's pretty great. I like that one a lot. I use that one all the time. So natural tourmaline wands are useful healing tools. So of course it doesn't have to be divided into 7 chakras, kind of like we have on the site. It can just be a piece of tourmaline. Points are great. Points are great on healing devices because they help to, as you could probably picture and imagine, they help to focus the direction of the more subtle etheric healing energies. Let's see. They clear the aura, remove blockages, disperse negative energy, and point to solutions for specific problems. They're excellent for balancing and connecting the chakras. At a physical level, they rebalance the meridians. tourmaline has strong affinity with the Devic energies and is extremely beneficial for garden and plants. And that is actually something that I like to use tourmaline for. It, again, helps to balance the erratic energies, and of course all bioorganisms and even inanimate physical mass has a sort of, I guess you could call it biofield, not biofield, but it has a sort of field around it. Especially living bioorganisms have, like, you know, plants, for example. And then plants are very, very sensitive to auric energy projection and what's sort of around them, what their environment's sort of like. I mean, you may have seen some interesting experiments conducted which deal with subjecting plants to different types of music and studying how well they grow under those certain sets of circumstance, and it's really interesting. There's also similar experiments which put one plant as a test subject for a lot of sort of negative projection of like human emotion, like, I don't like you, plant, you're just terrible, you're not looking very good today. And so that's sort of like negative communication from a human to the plant. And then of course the opposite of that, which is, you know, I love you, you're doing great, you're looking so good today, plant, I just like think you're wonderful, you know, like all that really supportive, kind, nurturing energy. And the plant which is subjected to kindness and love energy grows really well, and the plant which is subjected to negative vibrational field, disharmonic vibrational energy tends to suffer visibly so. There's some really interesting photos, I'm sure you can find them by searching online, which show a lot of this. It's really, really interesting stuff. I feel like I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was, so we'll just move on here. Right, okay, so yeah, back to where we started, back to using tourmaline around plants. So you have a piece of tourmaline which is attracting and absorbing disharmonic frequencies near your plant, and your plant is more free to vibrate within its most natural frequency, and hopefully then grow to its best potential. So tourmaline's really great. I usually carry around some tourmaline in my pocket or in my bag. Just like a nice raw stone is perfectly good, or a pendant or a necklace, or a ring or something like that. It's just great to have some tourmaline nearby you, kind of all the time, really. I actually sleep with one under my pillow sometimes, and that's really great. Just I find it helps my sleep. Actually, I find it helps me just relax when I decide to close down for the night, and it just helps me conk right out. And usually I seem to have nicer dreams as well when I sleep with the tourmaline under my pillow. That just may be coincidence, yeah, I don't really know. Anyway, psychologically, tourmaline aids in the understanding of oneself and others, taking you deep into yourself, promoting self-confidence, and diminishing fears. Well, we could probably all use a little bit of self-confidence, and we probably all use a few fewer fears. The fewer fears, the better. In life, I don't know about you guys, but when you really pay attention to what's going on in your mind, there is a lot of worry, a lot of really minor worry, like little worry. You don't even necessarily recognize it as worry a lot of the time, but it's like, all right, well, I might be a little bit late for this person I'm meeting. Am I going to get to the shop in time for them to close? Are they going to have the thing that I'm hoping to buy? Are the avocados going to be ripe? Are they going to have organic, bananas? And there's so many little things that you might not necessarily think are worry, but actually, when you really think about what those thoughts, like the essential essence of those thoughts are, they are a minor form of worry. But a lot of minor worries stack up, and they equal a state of mind which is often in some minor state of worry. You might not be like really worried, like like fearful and worried, but these little minor worries are kind of a harmonic disruption frequency, like a negative energy, or they're an imbalance of not an imbalance, but let's say they're a disharmonic, is what they are. A disharmonic to the essential being's wish and will to thrive under its most optimal, pristine, idealistic, non-interfered with state. So, yeah, tourmaline is a powerful mental healer, balancing the right-left hemispheres of the brain and transmuting negative thought patterns into positive ones. This stone brings the mental process, the chakras, and also the biomagnetic sheath into alignment. It is helpful in treating paranoia and for overcoming dyslexia, for overcoming lysdexia, as the case may be, as it improves hand-to-eye coordination and the assimilation and translation of coded information. Emotionally red, yellow, and brown tourmalines are beneficial for sexuality and emotional dysfunction that can lie behind loss of libido. Physically, tourmaline releases tension, which makes it helpful in spinal adjustments. It balances male and female energy within the body. And that's it for tourmaline. I hope you guys liked this video. This is the first one. We'll see what happens next.